what about things that Showstyle bands can provide for the individual student? We've already talked about the student establishing positive relationships with other people. We've talked about the band program um, providing a lot of school pride and helping get the name of the school out there. But what about things that the band actually does for the young person himself? Well, or herself. Well, what about instilling confidence? Let me tell you something right now. As a person who has been in a band before, you can't get out on a football field and perform in front of hundreds or maybe even thousands of people without having confidence, without your band director instilling you with, hey, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. Go out there and play your heart out and do your best. It's not an easy thing to do unless you have developed confidence in yourself. You know, people who have stage fright and who are scared to stand up in front of people. When you're in the band program, the band helps you to get rid of that. You know, it helps you to be able to stand up there and to be able to do what you have to do in order to entertain people. And that's a fantastic thing. Developing confidence in yourself is a major factor. You know, but it's not just performing, it's also just opening your mouth. You know, when the drum major gives a certain command, you may have to yell something or say a particular thing or act a particular way. That's very important, and it takes self confidence to be able to do that. But why is self confidence important? If you don't have self confidence, then you fall into other traps. Where you try to get yourself recognized at the school. Once again, if you're a young lady, if you don't really feel confident in yourself, maybe that's a situation when you start to really dress a certain way in order to get a certain attention away from the males because you just don't really feel that maybe you're worth anything without that. And men do that same type of thing. Maybe they try to be the class clown or do other type of things in order to get attention because they just really don't feel like they have that worth inside of them. But being in the band program, you develop that self-confidence that you can start to say, hey, really, you know what? I don't really need that. I'm good on my own. I believe in myself. That's a major deal. But beyond that, what about discipline? Being in the band program, you have to learn how to do what you are supposed to do at the right time. This is very important. And you might say, yes, this can be found in every classroom. Here's the difference, though. When you're in the classroom, maybe what you necessarily do doesn't necessarily it affects the whole classroom, but the whole class doesn't have to go somewhere and perform. The whole class doesn't have to go present themselves in front of the whole community. So there's less pressure for each individual student to do what they have to do. In the band program, when the band is performing, you just can't have somebody in the back just going off and doing their own thing in the middle of a performance, or maybe one organization just leaves, or maybe one part of the group just stops paying attention. You just can't do it. The band will fall apart. The band is going to perform. There has to be enough discipline within the group that everybody in the band has to do what they're supposed to do at the right time. They have to be at the right place at the right time, playing the right notes, doing the right moves at the right time. And it takes discipline to do that. For many young people, being in the band program, this may be the most structured part of their entire life. It may be the only part in their life where somebody is depending on them to be at the right place at the right time, to do what they're supposed to do. So the band programs provide a lot of discipline. But you know what? Discipline is not enough. Band programs also provide self-discipline. It's one thing to be able to listen to commands, to follow directions. But it's a whole nother thing when you're left on your own. Okay? Well, being in the band teaches self-discipline. Well, how does it do that? Well, here's what happens. When people come to band practice or to rehearsal, they're going over the music, but they're not really teaching the music. Well, excuse me, they're teaching the music, but they're not really practicing the music. They're not doing it in such a way that is meant for memorization. The young person has to take that instrument home, and they have to do it on their own. They have to practice the music on their own. They have to make sure they get every note right on their own. They have to memorize all those notes on their own. They have to memorize their dance routine on their own. Okay? And that takes self-discipline to do that. Because if you keep coming back to band practice day after day after day without spending any time on your own, you're never going to get better. And if you never get better, the whole band program suffers. Okay? This is real. So you have to. So the band student is instilled with that discipline. Excuse me, that self discipline that teaches them, hey, I've got a lot of things to do after school. I've got to study. I've got to do my chores at home. Hey, I want to even have um, a social life, but I've still got to get my practicing in. So it teaches you to have self discipline to do those things that you have to do on your time, and to be able to fit it into your schedule.